so much for joining. Um, we are just going to wait for more people to join. Please, you can introduce yourself. My name is Nneka. Nneka, I don't know. My name is Nneka. Hello, thank you so much for the. I hope you guys can hear me. This is not on interview. My laptop was on mute. Thank you so much for joining, guys. While we wait for more people to join, we can be introducing ourselves soon. We can start with me if that's okay by you. Like we know, or like I said, my name is Nneka. I am, I don't know, a Korean teacher, blah blah blah, language learning coach, etc. So maybe we can. Okay, so maybe we can start from Chinwe because she's the first person I'm seeing here. Hi Chinwe, can you introduce yourself? If it's not okay by you, please, you don't have to do it. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My name is Chiwe. My name is Chiwe.
Yeah. Why do you want to learn?
Nigerian, living in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Me too. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay, I've always had a flair. I'm here to learn Spanish,
Okay.
and I've always had a flair for the language. Yeah, I've tried to use Duolingo for the past 2 years. I've been on Duolingo trying to learn Spanish, but
Yeah.
I dropped it for the most part of this year, and then I decided to pick up again.
All right. So when you were learning on Duolingo, did you think you were making any much progress?
So yeah,
Okay.
not really much progress. A few words here and there, but can't string together a complete sentence per
Yeah.
se. Just a few of the very simple sentences at the time. Yeah, because I was trying to introduce my child to it. I was interested in him learning the language, so we tried to do it together. Um, Yeah, we got quite few of the sentences here and there, few words, and yeah, that was it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. What about Ebuka? Ebuka, can you introduce yourself? Do you want to do
Thank you.
that? All right.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ebuka Yamuru. I am a student based in the UK.
It's nice to meet you. Why do you want to learn French?
I want to, because I have an interest in how good it is to speak the language, and also how it can make me, interact more with my, you know, friends that are French.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, from there we can, interact more better in a way, have a good understanding of such.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much for joining.
such way. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So there's this interesting name I'm seeing. I'm sorry if I murder it, but this is Nyame Ke Kwa Kwa. Sorry. Please could you introduce yourself? Maybe you help us pronounce your name.
Hi, it's Nyamiche. You could just call me Ya. Ya is simple.
Okay.
I am learning French for the I don't know how many time. and I'm hoping that this time it sticks for good.
I hope so too. I hope so too. It's nice to meet you.
Same.
Okay. I don't know if there's Bowo follower. Please, could you introduce yourself? I'm sorry that I'm not doing the names. Hi. Okay, so if you don't want to introduce yourself, it's fine. Okay, follow. No problem.
Did you say Bolwat again?
No, there's another there's another follow. There's a follow. But you can introduce yourself. Follow is in a noisy area, so she can't really sing.
Okay. Sorry, my network is quite bad. I don't know what's wrong with MTN and Airtel right now. But my name is Bolwat, and why I want to learn French, I work in the NGO space, so definitely I want to open more doors for my career. So I think French is like a great starting point. And two, I've been learning French for a while now. Duolingo is so useless. I'm sorry to say,
Yeah.
but then it's just a lot of pick, and it's like, and there's literally no one to speak French to. So like, I guess that's one of the reasons why it's not sticking.
Yeah.
And also like, I feel like this like is a really good opportunity to to be with people who also want to learn French, and we can speak to each other. And I really want it to stick this time.
Alright, I hope it does. Thank you so much. What of Gabriel Adeyamo? At least I can pronounce that. Adeyamo. Sorry. Please introduce yourself. I think you need to unmute yourself first. Unmute your. Yep. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Gabriel. I started French class, I think, to the grade of A2, and I stopped about 6 years ago. Although I lived in some Francophone countries before, and I survived it, and I also worked in the NGO space, and I just think I also want to take the career a bit higher, and this is the reason why I resubscribed again to see how fast I can go with French again.
Alright, we hope there is a lot more improvement after this class. So Elizabeth is next. Elizabeth Joseph. Could you introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
I'm Elizabeth Joseph. The reason I'm learning French, or the reason I want to learn French, is because I missed a job opportunity that has to do with French language sometime in April. So after that, I just took it upon myself that I was going to learn French.
Wow, so sorry about that. And I hope that you gain a lot from this class. Please, next person is Kain Sola Adeze. Adeze, good evening. Could you introduce yourself?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hi.
Hi.
Amazing. So, I don't have a particular reason. I'm just doing it for. I just feel like I just need to learn another one. That's basically it. There's no particular reason.
That's interesting. Do you speak any other foreign language besides like English?
Not fluently. I know tidbits here and there. That's just it.
Of which language?
I asked me that. What is one?
Of Korean.
Hola. Literally, I just pick up
basic greetings
here and there. Yeah, so I just want to have one, literally, that I could just maybe be fluent aside the regular ones I will speak here. Basically.
Okay, no problem. Thank you guys so much. So I think I was going to do this till like 6:10 so that we don't use all our time to introduce ourselves. But it's nice to meet all of us. Maybe when we start learning, we can meet each other more. But your reasons for learning are all valid and very interesting to me. Myself, I started learning Korean just for fun as well, and now it's really something that has brought me so much career success, life success, and everything. So recently, I decided to add Spanish. I've been learning Spanish since like since March, April, but I did not really start learning it till like last month, right? Because when you start learning a language, you would think that it's something that is easy, you'll be so enthusiastic, but you will not know that after some time it gets exhausting, if you're not intentional about learning. right? So the thing I've noticed with, for example, Chinwenda said she has been using Duolingo. So the thing I've noticed with almost everyone who starts learning a language is that they go on Duolingo and they just like play for XPs and things. And this just does not show intentionality. But I know it's not their fault because they don't really know any other like a different way to learn. But that is what this class is for. I hope I'm not talking too fast. So the reason I started doing this kind of class is because I noticed that when like learning Korean, I noticed that this same passive learning of language is what most of us usually do. Like we attempt to learn passively, it doesn't work out, and we just abandon it. So some people suggested, oh please do this do this as a coaching thing because I just wanted to. I just said I wanted one accountability partner or two for my Spanish learning. You know, since I learned Korean by myself, I can just apply the same method in learning Spanish. But honestly, it has not been easy. I looked down my Spanish so much because I've learned Korean now. Korean is hard. It's not like it's difficult, right? Spanish, I know there are people learning Spanish and French here. It's not difficult, but you just have to like apply some intentionality into it. And which is what we have come here for, to be intentional about our learning. So I'm just going to introduce the two languages. So Spanish and French. So most of us know Spanish from like movies and everything. But like Spanish is spoken in so many different countries all over the world, and French too is spoken. Like French is spoken in like all the continents of the world. French is like the second most spoken language geographically after English language. So there's like different countries that speak English, and then French is the next language after that. So with this, because there are so many different people, different countries that speak these two either of these languages, like French, and Spanish, the accents, right? The accents differ. Okay, so this thing confuses people who want to learn. Oh, which accent should I go for? You know, this one. How can I learn? But it's not that different, honestly. So if you're in Canada, there's a Canadian accent, right? If you are in Mexico or in the United States, there's like Latin American accent, and then there's like Spanish accent. But with Spanish, please, I'm talking about Spanish right now, sorry. But with Spanish, right, the difference is not really so much, right? So it's like, for example, in their C and then their Z, excuse me, Latin Americans, most of Latin America pronounce this as S or K. You know how in English there's cat, right? And there's like central, you know, C. So it sounds like S, and then it sounds like A. It's K sometimes. The same thing with some Spanish-speaking countries, especially in Mexican America. But then, in Mexico, Latin America is what I meant. So, and then, but then, Spanish-speaking people, Spain, people in Spain, right? They pronounce this. I think somebody. People in Spain, they pronounce this as they. You know, like the English. I hope we can see the board. Like the English sound of TH, they pronounce either of these. They pronounce this as TH, and they also pronounce this as TH in Spain, right? In Spain. But then in Latin America, they pronounce this as S or K, and then they pronounce this as S. That is one of the major differences, right? And then when we are learning, we'll find out that sometimes they have a different word for, maybe Latin Americans will pronounce computer as computerado, you know, while Spanish people will pronounce it differently. But it does not mean that if you go to Spain and speak Latin American Spanish, they will not understand. They will understand it. Or if you go to Argentina and speak Spain Spanish, which they call Castellan, it's not as if they will not understand. They will understand it. So maybe if you say something that they are not familiar with, and you keep saying it, maybe you try to describe it and say, oh, they will now call it the name that they used to call it in Spain. So for Spanish, you don't really need to bother about the accent, right? So if your goal is to like speak with Americans, you know, people speak use Spanish in America, you can learn Latin American Spanish or Mexican Spanish, right? So if your goal is to speak with people in Spain, you can focus on Spanish, like the Spain accent. It does not mean that you cannot. See, in the textbooks, they usually just, when they're teaching you, they will say, oh, but they, like a side note, in this country, this is pronounced this or this is said like so. It doesn't really matter. But for French, right, because African people, there are so many African French speakers, right? So their native language have also entered inside to have also mixed together to give their own different French, a different accent, right? So for French, it's usually advised to just learn Parisian French, which is what they call standard French accent, right? So most of the textbooks usually teach Parisian French. So as you're learning Parisian French in introduction, if you are in Canada, right, when you're learning pronunciations and usage and stuff, maybe you can now focus on learning Canadian accents, right? But for the most part, generally, just learn standard Spanish, standard French, and that is what the textbooks teaches. The textbooks teach standard everything, right? So it's maybe when you're practicing, they will now try to differentiate for you, right? So that's it with which accents should you learn. Please, if you have any questions, you can be leaving it in the comments, in the chat box. I will be reading. So that's it with the accents. And now, how do we go about learning them? We have said Duolingo, and I've said it does not show intentionality, right? So when we want to learn a language, we have to learn intentionally. What do I mean? We have to take it seriously. The way we usually take our online, massive open online courses, product marketing, project management, data analysis, the way we will come and sit down and study those things, like bring out our notes, open Coursera or whichever platform we are learning from, and try to study for our online courses. That is how we should be learning the language. Right? First, we need a structured plan. What do I mean by a structured plan? Something like a textbook. A textbook gives structure. And I know many people will say, oh, textbook is not complicated as such. So I actually like this group now because I have learned so many things from the other group, from the first cohort. We have made so many mistakes and corrected our errors. So we first started with so many different materials. This YouTube channel, this textbook, this other textbook, this app, this other app. But we found that it just puts our attention in different, it scatters our attention. And after some time, we got tired and abandoned everything. But now, when we now decided to focus on one material, just one textbook, we'll bring out our textbook and just even if it's one page for today, you study that one page, right? Study it. So how do you study it? So you bring out the textbook, you sit down with your daughter, and then you allow the textbook to teach you as if the textbook is your teacher. But if you cannot understand what the textbook is saying, then you now go and search that topic on YouTube, right? And you see so many different teachers that are teaching it. You will now it will now be as if you are in those people's classroom, and then you will now make your notes and you understand it. If you still don't understand it, you will go to Google and Google the topic and you see a blog post. The thing I like about bloggers is that they explain as if they are talking to somebody, right? They are having a conversation with you, so it's kind of easier for you to understand. So when we're learning, we study actively is what I'm trying to say. So we study actively. So for the beginning, or people who have never learned French or Spanish, right? At the beginning, what we usually advise is that you start with the alphabet, because this is the most basic unit of language, the alphabet. So we'll learn the alphabet and we'll learn their sounds, right? So what did we use to learn the alphabet? We use YouTube videos. For French, of course I'm going to send the materials, I'm going to send the YouTube videos. For French, we use Alexa, French with Alexis, and I said Alexa, sorry. And then for Spanish, we used Butterfly Spanish. She has a playlist of Spanish alphabet, their sound, pronunciation rules. This when it combines with this letter, this is how it's pronounced. When it combines with this letter, this is how it's pronounced. That is what we use. After that, we now got it, which like the basic unit of language, sound. We got it right. So we now advised that we should also listen to Spanish or French sound a lot, like watch Spanish movies in our free times, like as entertainment, or French movies, right? So that we'll be getting familiar with French sound, and we know that this is what we are coming to meet. We are not just going to be learning and then thinking in English, or like listening to English all the time. Because if you learn French or Spanish with English like sound in your head, you will, when you're speaking, it will be difficult for you to make this sound. So it's usually advised that sound is very, very important. Understanding or getting yourself, familiarizing yourself with the sound of the language that you're learning is very, very important. I gave an example. I'm a very huge fan of Johnny Drill, right? So if I want to learn the lyrics of Johnny Drill's song, like if I want to learn to sing Johnny Drill's song, I know the lyrics, right? Like I go to Google and I check the lyrics and I see I am a bad dancer, but I want to take you slow dancing. How will I know if I cannot know this thing, right? Like I cannot know how to sing the song if I don't listen to the sound to the beat of the song, right? So if I just look at the lyrics, I will not know how to sing it. So in order to familiarize ourselves with sound, we need to listen. To familiarize ourselves with the language, we need to listen to the sound of that language. Familiarize ourselves, immerse ourselves in the sounds of that language. So on your Netflix, you watch French movies if you're learning French movies or French series. You can even change the audio of your favorite series to French, right? And then use English subtitles, right? Same thing with Spanish. You can change the audio, or if you're watching it, or you can better still you watch a Spanish movie or a French movie or series, just to like familiarize yourself with the sound, so that it's not when you are learning a word. So that when you're learning a word, if you pronounce something, right? So say what I have here is color favorito, right? It's because I'm already familiar with Spanish sound that I can say this. If I had said color favorito or color favorito, I would know that, oh, this, I would know if somebody says something differently, I would know that, oh, this does not sound right in my ear, because I've already familiarized myself with a lot of Spanish sounds, right? So please, we'll familiarize ourselves with Spanish sound. There is also radio. If you're driving or riding on a bus, you can listen to Spanish radio. You don't have to understand what they are saying. Just familiarize Spanish or French radio. Just familiarize yourself with the sounds. Immerse yourself with the sounds of this language to be together with the sound of the language. Alright. So after we learn the alphabet, right? Like I said, in this class, I made a study plan for French. If you can follow the study plan, it would be really nice. But some people thought it's monotonous, right? But the thing is that language learning can actually be monotonous, even though some people want it to be fun. If you want fun, you're going to get distracted. So you can learn for fun, right? Like maybe you will now follow like all those French or Spanish teachers on TikTok or Instagram, so that if you're scrolling, you can just see, oh, here are 5 ways to say I'm sorry in French. Here are 5 ways to say thank you in Spanish. You will learn those things. But when it comes down to it, since you are taking this thing seriously, you want to study actively, you need to sit down at least 3 times a week. Sit down with your textbook and sit down with your daughter and learn, study, as if you are studying for a course or a promotion or something like that. So far, if you have any questions, please ask me. If you don't have any questions, I can continue. Does anybody have questions? Okay. If we don't have any questions, we can continue. So now we have talked about learning sounds. Right? Another thing I've noticed with learners is that they don't know how to memorize vocabulary. Right? So some
Sorry, sorry to interrupt.
no
When you
problem.
say learning sounds, do you mean that we randomly go and start listening to music
It's
or
not
anything?
it's not learning sounds like familiarizing ourselves with the sound. Yes, you can like listen to music or watch movies just to like immerse yourself, get familiar with the way Spanish people or French people say things.
The way you say sorry, actually,
Please
what
ask.
I wanted to ask was
Yeah.
the study plan that we talked about. Is it that we can have like accountability partners?
Yeah, the group, yes, we will. But let me tell us something about that accountability partners. We tried it in the first cohort, and they, as in, some people will say, "Oh, I'm too busy." Some people will say, "I can't be keeping up with my partner." People say, "My partner is not responding to me," and you know you cannot control everybody, right? So what I just did was that I said, "Oh yeah, if your accountability partner is not work, the accountability partnership thing is not working out. We just started doing this thing in the group where every day we will come and put fire on top of our bulb. So I don't know how to translate the Igbo to English. Do you get? So we'll come and like I'll post what I studied in the morning before going to work, right? And say this is what I studied today. You guys please study your own and send me evidence. So at least 5 people send me evidence every day, right? If they cannot study in the morning, they study in the evening after work, or they study during break in school, things like that. So that is what we are doing. So for some people that they are already ahead, right? If beginner ask a question, they will answer, or if they have like a voice note, if they send a voice note and they don't pronounce something right, they will answer. So the accountability partnership thing, we work depending on individual effort, right? But if individual effort is not working, we can do group effort, right? So if you want you and your accountability partner to make progress, you have to be consistent in like keeping in touch with each other. Okay. So is there any other question, please? Okay. In the absence of no question, I was trying to talk about vocabulary memorization, vocabulary learning. So I noticed that people don't really know how to learn vocabulary, right? One girl, she told me that if she like that she's learning but she's not remembering what she learned. And I asked her, how are you learning? Right? She said that if she opens her notes and they said cambiar is to change in Spanish, right? She will now say, okay, cambiar is to change, cambiar is to change, and then she will go. I said, since you don't have photographic memory, you will not expect yourself to remember this thing tomorrow or next tomorrow, right? Because that is not how it works. If you are learning vocabulary, you have to be intentional. And vocabulary learning is very important as beginners, right? Many people focus on grammar a lot, but as beginners, we need vocabulary, right? We need, not that we need it more. I could say we need it more, but we do need vocabulary. It's very important. Because imagine that you are in a French-speaking country and you want something like milk, right? But if you don't know the word for milk, you can't ask for milk, right? Even if you don't know how to say I want, at least you know, if you know how to say milk, right, you will be able to communicate what it is you want to say. Because if you do your hand like this, they might think you want to water, right? So if you do something like this and you mention the word for milk, at least they will understand you. But if you don't know the vocabulary, it will be difficult for you. So see, children, when they are learning how to talk, they usually know the word for something. They will say water. They are not saying give me water because they don't know how to make that complete sentence yet. But water, you understand what they are saying. Poo 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 poo, you understand what they are saying. Even if they are not saying the full sentence. So this should be our goal. We should learn vocabulary, especially at the beginning, and it's very important. So how do we learn vocabulary at the beginning? This is where Duolingo, apps like Duolingo comes in. Right? There is Duolingo, there is Love Lingua French, there is Busu. Any of the app, just choose one, please. People, if you carry, like if you have more than one, right, more than one or two, there's also the Spanish dictionary for Spanish learners, or Duolingo as well, or Busu, or Love Lingua Spanish. Of course, I'm going to send these apps as email together with our study learning resources, right? So this is where these apps come in. as beginners, we'll be going to these apps to like learn, right? But we are not just going to be learning, pressing this one you say this one you say. We have to make notes, right? So in my when I was learning Korean as a beginner, what I used to do, I will come to the side of my notes, right? I will write the word. I will not write it in Korean now because okay. So say I've learned um, quiero, right? Is I want, right? Cambiar is to change. Proximo is next. You know, etc. etc. So say this is what I've learned. This is how I'll write it in my notes. Please, I hope the board is clear. But even if it's not clear, please, because of the network might make it not to be clear. But even if it's not clear, on this side I've written the foreign language word, Spanish word, and on this side I've written the English name, right? So I'm not just going to leave this in and this in. I will still come down under it, right, and write it again and again and again. Or I can write it by the side, the Spanish part, and then in my head, I'm trying to ask myself whether I remember it. Do you get? So it's a repeated process. You repeat. You can even write some of the words on flashcards and put in your purse or your bag or your pocket and be checking it from time to time. There are also vocabulary learning apps like Quizlet or Anki. These apps are apps where you can like impute words that you have learned, and it could either suggest the meaning or you can put the meaning by yourself. And then tomorrow you can come and press learn. It will help you to learn it in flashcard form, as a text, things like that. That is that you have to learn vocabulary intentionally, right? Practice with yourself. Me, sometimes I used to form scenarios in my head and try to form correct sentences with the vocabulary that I'm learning, so that it will stick more. If you learn in sentences, like you will come up with sentences with the words that you have learned. For example, you are learning the verb to kick, right? To kick. So in your head, you think the boy kicks a ball or the girl kicks a ball. Even if you don't know how to say, like, make a correct sentence like that, apps like ChatGPT, I'm suggesting ChatGPT because ChatGPT is an AI that has been fed natural information. So it translates more naturally, right? So you can ask ChatGPT, how can I say the girl or the boy kicks a ball? And then it will tell you, right? Or you can ask Google, but then I suggest ChatGPT, and then it will tell you, and then you write it down, right? So like yesterday now, when I was learning something in Spanish, I was like, I want to party next Friday. The word I was learning was I think was in next, right? So I wanted to like practice with. I want to go to a party. I want to go party next Friday, and I asked ChatGPT helped me make the correct sentence, and I wrote it down. I cannot remember the exact sentence for that next Friday, like for that I want to party. But then I remember party, I remember next, I remember Friday. Do you get? I remember. In fact, I remember it. I remember how to say I want to party next Friday, right? So, excuse me. So this is how we learn vocabulary, so that it sticks with us. And we are not just going to be learning it once. You have to. You will, even if you learn it today, tomorrow you come back, you will review it. You will look at what the notes you have made and review and try to write down. See my notes. So something that I've learned before. When I came to review it, I made this. I hope you can see it. I made this small part and try to like write it again, form sentences. Task my brain to try to remember the word, the vocabulary words, and write it again. You get. So this thing it's like going back to primary school, though. Do you get? It's like going back to primary school, because that is what you have to feed yourself repeated information, right? You have to feed yourself information over and over again for it to stick. And at the beginning, you will feel like it's not sticking, but after some time, you will see that you start remembering some words, you start recognizing some sounds. So maybe you are watching a French or Spanish movie, for something you don't know before. If they will say something like ball or kick, it might not be just as a stand alone. They will say it in a sentence. Not, oh, I've heard that word before. Do you get? And if you look at the subtitle, you see that it's hey, I remember. Do you get? And now that you have come across that thing again, there, you will see that tomorrow you will never forget it again, right? So it's a gradual process of like coming, like repeating it to ourselves, it coming together. Don't be scared that you learned something yesterday and you came back tomorrow, you cannot remember it, and you will not say, this thing is not sticking. It's sticking. It's sticking. You just need to repeat it to yourself many times. Come across the word or sentence or something many times. There are some words that you learn, you need to come across it many times. Maybe in your textbook, in a YouTube video, in a movie. If you come across it enough times, it will stick. So it's not once that you learn a vocabulary word and you expect to remember it. You might not remember it. Okay. So you need to learn it over and over again. So, and that's it for vocabulary, right? I'm so sorry, you guys. Ethel has finally happened to me. I'm terribly sorry, please. I'm so sorry. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, please. Please, where did we stop hearing it from? I don't know where we stopped hearing it from. The last thing I said.
We were discussing into the in-depth of vocabularies and stuff, and the different apps that works and all those stuff.
Okay. Alright, sorry. So I was trying to say that learning vocabulary is a series of imputing information over and over again into ourselves until it actually sticks. And I was trying to say that some textbooks they teach vocabulary randomly, like it's when you are learning something, they are explaining something, they will introduce vocabulary. So your job is to note it down in your jotter, right? You note it down. You can have a different space, like something somewhere like this. You are learning. You will write there. If you are somebody that notes down, write down explanation. I usually try to write down explanations in short notes or short points, so that if I'm reading the notes next time, I would read the explanation again and remember what it was that I learned, right? And then on a smaller part of my notes jotter, I'll write the vocabulary, any new vocabulary I'm learning. But the good thing about apps like Duolingo or like Love Lingua French or Love Lingua Spanish is that they teach vocabulary in groups, right? In groups, meaning that if they're talking about house vocabulary, they will teach you table, they will teach you television, they will teach you lights, they will teach you bedroom, parlor, those things, so that you are learning word groups, right? So if you remember this one, you might remember this one. If you remember this one, you might remember this one. Tomorrow they will teach you office vocabulary. Next tomorrow they will teach you like church vocabulary or school vocabulary, things like that. So it's good to like learn in that format, right? To learn in groups so that you can more easily understand or more easily recall the vocabulary. So that's it about vocabulary. Now, how do we maintain consistency? Please, if you have any questions, please ask. You can just unmute yourself and ask. If you don't have any questions, you can continue.
Mine is actually not a question, but as someone who has attended a French class before, I was also stuck at the vocabulary side because there are 1,000,001 vocabularies and stuff. So I just think that it will be a daunting task, but one will just keep at it and stuff. It got to a point I even had to change one of my mobile phone to communicate with me in French. See. And then I got lost at some point. I had to go look for a professional French person to help me reset my phone back to. So I did so many things to make sure. There was this book that one of our tutors sold, and that's more than 25,000 vocabularies and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, like learning different things, and these are not things that you use in your day-to-day life activities, because we live in an English-speaking country, unlike if you live in a French-speaking country where you can use some of these words. So I think it's a matter of cramming at some point. It will be a matter of usage at some point, and see how you can just parler, français, and all those stuff like that. Exactly. So yeah, it's something very crazy, but I'm just like kind of imagining how my life is going to start again doing this French stuff. But everything that you said is noted, and I just wish that there's like an app. You mentioned something about AI. I just think that there's something like an app that one can also like something that you can have interactions with, like a machine.
Yes, you can. With ChatGPT, you can do that.
Voice interaction.
Yes. I used to interact. ChatGPT uses English and Korean to teach me Spanish. If I don't understand it in English, I can ask it to explain to me in Korean.
What about in French?
You can in French now. It speaks so many different languages. It speaks French.
The free version of ChatGPT or
yes,
the paid version?
Free version.
Yeah, please, you need to point us also to that.
Definitely. All the apps I'm mentioning here, I'm going to send everyone an email containing like textbooks, YouTube video links, and then the apps, right? The links to download them. Right.
I think some of us have enough time to do this. Apologies to those who might not have time, but it depends on the reason why we are all learning this language. So some of us might need to put some also extra energy into an extra time. So I think the faster we go and at good pace, the better for us.
Yes.
I see that I said our call ends in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that a setting from you?
It's not. It's how Google Meet works. It usually just allows you free 1 hour alone. So maybe.
Okay, so let us give you the floor. Are we going to continue after 15 minutes, or that will be the end of
No, it's not be the end of it. If we have not finished in 15 minutes, we can create another link and rejoin.
Okay, please. Let's. All right. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for your contribution. So I just wanted to mention as well that I know that when I said about this group, I was like 6 months, this one. But honestly, we might not learn in 6 months. Right? So in order not to rush ourselves, we must learn this thing. It's a very, very gradual process. But you can go at a snail's pace. So the most important thing is that you are learning. So don't give yourself, I must learn this thing within this amount of time. It's not as if you should relax because they said you should take it slow, but just have it in mind that it is like in moderation. You give yourself time to try to understand, but don't also pressure yourself to understand by fire by force. So you take it easy. I understand what you mean when you say, we are not in French-speaking countries. That was my biggest challenge with Korean as well. But I did a lot of cramming, right? And I honestly didn't know I could speak Korean, right? I used to try to like connect with Korean speakers online, via language. There are things that are called language exchange apps or language exchange websites where you can meet a foreign speaker that wants to learn English, and and then they speak French, right? So you people can become chat buddies or things. But I stopped using those apps because most people there are weirdos. They are looking for fine African girls, things like that. So I stopped using those apps. But those apps really helped me. I used to like try to meet only women on them, and try to practice my Korean, but it was still hard. So another way to like practice our conversation is like there are so many videos on YouTube that we can search, and people are saying sentences. So they say the sentence, you say it back to them. But that's why I like ChatGPT now. I wish I wish I was not streaming on YouTube with my phone. I would have. Oh, there's ChatGPT on here. Okay, so if let me let me try to connect this phone to ChatGPT now and just try to show us what I mean. What I mean by you talk to ChatGPT. So if you like open the conversations, if you click the conversations button on ChatGPT, you can tell ChatGPT, can you tell me about the weather in French today? You know, can you tell me about the weather today in French, right? And then it will tell you information and give you information about the weather in French, right? If you don't understand, you can tell it to like, can you please tell me like this thing that you just said, tell me the meaning in English. Another thing I even tried, I've read a story in Spanish to ChatGPT and asked her to translate it for me and then read me the story again. This you can ask ChatGPT so many things, right? It's just that after some time it will tell you, oh, you have exceeded your limit of conversation, blah 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 blah. So you wait 30 minutes before you can continue having a conversation again. But sometimes you can have like 1 hour conversation before they will tell you you have exceeded something blah blah blah. So this is just another way that you can practice vocabulary. Again, it's not exhaustive. So somebody giving you 25,000 words, it's pressurizing. So it's easier to just be learning small vocabulary from like the different pages of your textbook that you're studying every day. Okay. So that's it about vocabulary for now. And vocabulary is like the main thing we usually need to learn. But pronunciation and accent is also very, very important. So, not to brag, but when some people speak Korean, I don't even understand what they are saying because they are mixing their mother tongue and it just like mixes all together and I can't really understand. But when some other people speak Korean, you can see that their pronunciation is more natural, like more like a native speakers. That is because they consume a lot of native speaker materials, or they practiced a lot their accent. So how do you practice your accent? Don't be shy. The thing I want to say is don't be shy. Don't be shy about speaking French or speaking Spanish. Because some people might say, oh, I sound like this one. There's one particular student of mine, she doesn't really like talking because she feels that she sounds too Yoruba-ish when she's speaking Korean. But it's when you are sounding Yoruba-ish and are correcting you, before you know it, you will now start sounding Koreanish. It's Korean, right? And then when you go back to Yoruba or Igbo or whatever, you will now start sounding like your native person, right? So it's just about repeating what a native. So this thing is called shadowing. So shadowing is like when you play a native speaker material, say a podcast, right? There's a podcast that we share with us as well. So the podcast is called Language Transfer. It kind of like it teaches us based on the relationship between English and Latin and French, Latin and Spanish. So it uses that relationship to teach us Latin words that we already know in French. Do you get like French words that we already know based on the fact that French is a Romance language, Spanish is a Romance language, and Romance languages they take their roots from either Latin or Greek, right? So if you are listening to this podcast as well, you can also like learn from it. But the podcast the kind of podcast I was talking about is like all these daily podcasts that are just talking about maybe the weather or parties or the political events, just things like that. Random, normal podcasts. It's just like I said what I said now in French, right? Or in Spanish. So if you are listening to a podcast like that, there are so many podcasts like that for beginners. So if you're listening to a podcast like that and they're saying something about the weather or saying something about going to church or about school, if the native speaker says one line, you will say one line. If you don't think you got the accent right, if you don't think you got the accent, you rewind and say that line again. You will rewind and say, this thing is like, it will make you look like a mad person, right? But that is the point, right? The point is not to give up because you think, oh, this is me. There's no pride in, like, there's no this one in language learning. We are literally babies right now. As beginner language learners, we are like children. All those children are A, B, C, D, E. There's even a sing-song way of learning Korean alphabets. Aya, oyo, oyo. So if you are ashamed to sing it, why would you be ashamed? If you don't want to learn the thing, you forget about it. But if you really want to learn, you have to humble yourself and not feel any shame. Like, try to do anything possible, everything possible to like get into it and learn it. So I think we should end this call and start another one. So let me end this call and start another one so that I will send the link, because this one is about to end in like 5 minutes. Is that okay? I think that's okay. So please let me end it and send another link on WhatsApp. Mm. Welcome back. Welcome. So we were more than this. So let's just wait more for more people to join, and then we can continue. Welcome back. Welcome. It seems no one is joining again. I mean, no one is joining again anymore. So let us continue. So we were talking about how to learn pronunciation and accent, and I was saying that. Okay. Let's just give till 7 p.m. Like 3 more minutes for more people to join. Please, if you have any questions in the meantime, you can ask, please. If you have any questions or you are confused about anything, you're curious about anything, sorry, please just let me know and I will answer while we wait for more people to join.
Hi, Nneka. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please, some of us just like, let me speak for myself. I just want to beg you. Let's just, please, devise the simplest way that we can learn this language for us so that it will be very, very interesting. And in my previous French class, I learned that there are there are the professional French and there are just if you just want to know how to speak French generally and stuff like that. So some of us just need some of this language for professional reasons. So I don't know if that is true or not. I actually wrote an A1, A2 there for exam, which I passed. So I think I still have some French in my system. So that doesn't mean that other people will not also need to learn the basics that they need to learn. But maybe there's a special kind of arrangement on whatever curriculum that you're given, on where one can continue from or where one can start from and stuff like that, just to continue something and not go back to basics and stuff like that. And if at all it's true that there's the casual language side and there's the professional side or wherever side. So I don't know how we can just do that to help professionals.
All right, so let me answer that. Let me reply that. So you are right when you say there is casual French and professional French. It's just like in English now. If you are working in the hospital in English, you have to know hospital vocabulary. If you are working as a lawyer, you have to know law vocabulary. Me, I don't know law vocabulary. There are some things we'll be seeing in law or finance. I will not know it, right? But I know like general English words now. You get. So it's just the same thing with any of these languages, whether French or Korean. But you will know the basics, right? You will know the basics first before you can say you are moving to professional French. So if you are doing business French, there are videos or there are materials that teach those, the business French that you can. It doesn't even mean that there's a separate way or separate method. It's just the same thing, but they're just teaching you more sophisticated vocabulary that is not like everyday vocabulary you get. So, and you just need to like practice it the way you practice normal vocabulary. But like you said, you would already need to know the basics before you move into those. And then they also teach like cultural aspects of like maybe doing business with French people or working with French people in these like business French or professional French classes or videos you get. And then when you say that you had a French teacher, me, I like teachers, right? I like teachers because they already have the knowledge and that they can pass on to me. But one thing, teaching myself, using myself as an example, as someone who has had so many Korean students, and as someone who has also joined, who has also had a French teacher, right? I noticed that students push the responsibility of learning to me as a teacher, and I've even done it to my French teacher before. You get. But the thing is that the teacher is just there as a guide, right? The teacher is just guiding you. It is your responsibility to like memorize, to practice, to study, to like try to get the language to stick in your head. As a teacher, I can explain and explain and explain. But if you, after I finish explaining, you carry your note and they'll just wait for the next class. I'll just keep teaching, and then maybe if I ask you a question in the middle of the class, you say, I don't remember. Okay. So our teachers also help us, but we also need to help ourselves by, like I said, using YouTube, Googling, making research. Because sometimes, like I was saying earlier to a different class, I was trying to say that in Spanish there's something they call desde, and I saw that desde meant from something, from somewhere. But then the next day I now saw them saying since yesterday, or since so many, like since this one or so that, and they also said it's desde. So I was not like, which one be this now? Maybe I saw this desde yesterday. So I now have to go and ask ChatGPT or Google, like, how do you say this? What is the meaning of desde in French? And he now explained that desde can mean this or it can mean that. You get. So it is our it is how how do I put this, in our ability to like ask the right questions, you know, use the right methods to learn. It is also in that our ability to do that we can also say, oh, we are learning. And is there a simple, fun way of learning? Like you said, is there any way to make it simple? Mm, I wouldn't say there's a simple or non-simple way of learning. There's what we are doing currently, which is learning at least one page of our textbook every day. To some people, they say it's fun because at least now you know that your group, you're on the same page with your group, and the race, which is not really a race, because some people like Gabriel, Mr. Gabriel already like knows the basics, right? So he's not going to be starting from A is for apple, B is for ball in French or in Spanish, right? But it doesn't mean he cannot continue, like maybe look through the textbook, and if he feels he has understood this part, he can just keep it and go to the next, the part that he feels he does not, he might not know or have knowledge of, you know, and continue from there. So that if there are other people also that are in the same level, you know, if you have any questions, you can ask it in a group, or people that you are above their level, and you can now test your knowledge by saying, this person asked you a question, you can now test your knowledge by trying to answer them. You get. But if you in particular, you have a question and there's nobody in your level or that is above your level, you can ask Google or ask ChatGPT, right? So the only simple fun way of learning is this together. We have to be together. It's not I noticed that some people, they will say, oh, they are too busy. I understand somebody being busy, right? But it doesn't mean you cannot remove 20 minutes in a day. Maybe you are me. Since I started working a 9 to 5, I used to leave my house around 6 a.m. So if I wake up by 5 o'clock, I cannot say I'm learning French by then, because then I will go late to work. So I'll prepare, maybe exercise and then shower, carry my food, make my food, and then I will be going. So when I'm riding on the bus, I'll put my earpiece and be listening to my podcast, my Spanish podcast. So when I get to the office, before it is time for work, because I usually get to office before 8. So when I get to office, I will now bring textbook and now study for like 30 minutes, right? And then when my colleagues come or my bosses, I will now put the book away in my bag. Then during lunch, I will now look at it again. But then the good thing about my workplace is that I'm working with Korean, right? So I also get to practice my Korean. So during work time, I'm allowed to like learn more Korean, because that is the point of working there. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that somebody, you can be busy, I understand. You can be working 12-hour shifts or whatever. But it does not mean that if you cannot use textbook every day, at least listen to one. That podcast I'm going to send, it's called Language Transfer. It's 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, highest 11 to 13 minutes. There's no way you can say you will not be able to listen to something that is just talking in your ear for 10 minutes. If you feel like you've missed something, even that language transfer, they said you don't have to write, right? Just pay attention, and think about it. They will tell you, excuse me, like for Spanish now, they will tell you something that like all the Latin words from English that end in ly, that in Spanish usually end, it's usually mente, like excellently in English, it's excelente in Spanish, something like that. This podcast is the thing that's teaching you it. So you don't even need a textbook to learn this one, right? So this is also another way that a busy person can like put in some study, right, by listening to a podcast. And for consistency, right, there is no special way to be consistent other than with this our group now together. So every morning when I study, I'm going to send my evidence of study to the group, so that you have it in mind that me too, I need to study. You get, even if it's half a page of your textbook and you jot something down, that counts for something. Like I said, you are not maybe I've not said it before, you are not chasing anybody and nobody is chasing you, right? So somebody like Mr. Adem or Gabriel said, somebody might have time, another person will not have time, right? But it doesn't mean you that don't have time should not come and start competing with the person that has enough time. You get, you should not feel that you are less because this person is putting 12 hours and you are putting 30 minutes. You are not less. It's an all man on his own journey, but we are together on it, right? We are together in it. So please, that is just that is my contribution to that discussion. So I think I've exhausted all the things I have here, so basically I'm going to send us learning materials. I'll send the study plan for French learners. I'll send a alphabet playlist. I'll send a French playlist. I'll send a Spanish playlist, right? So, but what we are going to do, we are not going to try to like learn everything at once. Please, let's not do that. That is when it will get over. I know we are curious and everything. Just take it small. You learn alphabet first. You will now listen to podcasts from time to time. And then when you're learning the alphabet, you can also be looking at the first pages of your textbook to also like be cross-checking with what you're watching on YouTube and the textbook. You will see that it's the same thing. So let's not try to put all our fingers in our mouth at the same time. It's a very, very gradual process. So in the last group, that was what we did. We tried to do this one, and at a certain point, everybody got tired. Even me, I got overwhelmed that I did not talk there for like two weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. But now that we are back every day now, every day we are showing up. Every day I post. Please, as we are woken up after your prayers or your exercise, you can study and then send us this thing. If you are going to work, please go to work and have it in mind that you study some. One girl, she used to study by 9 p.m. every day because she says she comes back from work around 7:30. She showers, eats, and then relaxes. When after some, she will now study before she will go to bed or before she can start pressing the phone. We can also reduce our social media scrolling times, by using it to practice on Duolingo. So when you know that you are not supposed to be on this social media, or you can use your time for more productive things, you can Duolingo is a casual study app. But it doesn't mean that we will not learn anything. I finished the whole Korean course on Duolingo, and it improved my vocabulary a lot. But before I studied on Duolingo. I like Duolingo because it teaches these Romance languages better, teaches French and Spanish better, unlike like Korean or Chinese, because it doesn't explain those ones. It explains some things in French and Spanish. So before I started studying consistently with Duolingo, I already studied my textbook. I already understood grammar rules, conjugation rules, things like that. So if you do that before you focus on Duolingo very, very well, Duolingo is going to help you with vocabulary because it makes you repeat things. It makes you like go through group of words like 5 times over before it can allow you to go to the next step. And I think that's a very good way to regain vocabulary as well. So that's all I have. Please, the floor is open for questions. If you have any questions or comments, please you can unmute yourself. Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, I wanted to ask, what's your take on pursuing a career in foreign language in a country like Nigeria, especially like studying in university? What's your take on it?
I think it's very good to learn a foreign language or make a career for yourself in foreign languages. I did not study foreign languages, right? But I know so many people that did German linguistics, French and German linguistics, but they cannot speak German, neither can they speak French or Spanish, right? But if, as a student, you are studying any of these courses, it's our universities, our educational system, unfortunately, is poor, right? So if you take it upon yourself to learn the foreign language they are teaching you about in your university, you have an edge over your classmates. Like one of my friends that studied computer sciences, they were not teaching them anything about new software engineering thingy, and he learned that one by himself while he was still in school. And then after school, he got a job immediately. Now he's doing better than all his friends because he took it upon himself to improve himself in that field. So it's a very good thing to like pursue a career, right, or study like foreign language school, because it will give you an edge. Like when I went in fact I started learning Spanish because the training director in the custom training institute, he was like, "Maybe you think this your Korean that you just learned it casually, so you think is a casual something. It's not a casual something. If you add French and Spanish to it and add German, and you are meeting people, making connections, you can be getting invited to come and interpret for them at this event or that event. Things like that. You can work as an interpreter. You can work with NGOs. Like somebody said they worked with NGOs. So these NGOs usually look for people who can go to follow them to francophone countries, so that they can communicate with those people that speak French, that don't speak English. It's also a very good thing. So I think it's very advised, to as you're learning, as you're studying in school, you're also like taking it upon yourself to learn. So yeah, that's my thing. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Please, any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Nneka.
Thank you. So I was actually in a meeting, so none of me known to me this meeting actually, joined in, and I was just basically multitasking listening to that one. We got done some minutes ago. So I've touched on what you said in the previous meeting with the previous day before you have to send a new one.
Okay.
So you mentioned things like being consistent, being thinking out of the box, trying to ensure that get hands on deck, make time for it and all. That's fine. I understand it very well. So would you carry us through exactly like the stages, or what to do? Okay, after this is what next step we done. This is what next step we done.
Yes, that's why I said we need to follow a structured plan. The study plan is there for that. The study plan has topics like step by step. You will learn this one, you will learn this one, you will learn this one, you will learn this one. But it's the same to also textbook. It's the same thing with textbook. Textbooks are usually ordered in a structured way, in a way that after this topic you learn this topic, after this topic you learn this topic. You get. But as students, sometimes these things can get boring, honestly. So you might not want to learn the next topic in your textbook or the next topic in the study plan, which is fine. You can like go to like if you were in page 20, you can go to like page 80 and try to learn that. You might think that you are not going to learn it because it's more complicated, but the vocabulary you will learn there, it can stick. And then if you go back to page 20 next time and you continue, next time you reach page 80 again, you would have remembered what you had studied before, and it will be like it will be like refreshing what you have learned. So I can take you step by step, but you don't have to follow stringent step by step. That's what I'm trying to say.
And secondly, you mentioned about getting us in pairs, like is it study partner or
Yeah, accountability partner. Yeah.
Okay. Will you let us know when you get to that time?
Yes, we can. We will do it like from next week. You get. So everybody's just going to write. So me, I'm writing Nneka, Nigeria, Ebuka, UK, me, US or something, so that we can just pair each other up according to our time zones, and how the accountability partnership works. You message your accountability partner, you will get acquainted with each other. You don't have to be too personal if you. In fact, I would even advise it not to be too personal, because I think one guy went to be chatting with one girl about you have to find love, get married, this one. It's not his business, do you get? So that those kind of things, I hope it doesn't come up that maybe this person is making somebody else uncomfortable, do you get? So you will not acquaint yourself with a accountability partner. You can make a study like a practice plan or a study plan or something, so that you might say on Thursdays by 7 p.m. we can meet and go through what we learned during the week, things like that. So it will be good, so that when you start speaking, you people can be attempting to speak to each other. If you are not going to be doing it in the main group, if you want to do it in your private thing, it will also be good to do that, so that you can make mistakes and not be too ashamed of it. But please, I'm begging us, let us not be ashamed. You can speak rubbish if you like, and you can laugh at yourself, and you still learn, like try over and over again until you get the correct thing. So that's basically how it works.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, quick one.
Yeah.
Two things. Do we do this mixing regularly, or this is only it, and then we just follow up on the group chat or something?
this is not only it. So after like 2 weeks or so, we can come and say, oh, how is it going? This is the challenges I'm having, things like that. But the group is also there for like this kind of discussion as well. You can ask questions, I will answer whether by voice note or by text in the group as well.
Okay, that's one. Then sorry, this one maybe a bit out of I don't know if I should say out of point, but just out of my own sheer curiosity. Apologies to everybody. Korean, I know you know Korean, and I know you understand it and you speak it. I'm assuming you've learned to write it now, or you're learning the writing or this thing. So I'm a bit curious. Is it the sole version? Because I know that you have to write it between certain pronunciation between Busan and from this thing like that, blah blah blah, and this thing.
Okay.
How are you able to blend that work?
Thank you for that. All right, thank you for that. So first of all, anybody that is learning Korean as a foreign language has to learn how to write Korean first before they can. Yeah. So I know how to read and write Korean because that's the first thing you need to learn how to read and write it. Their rules and everything is very very much based on their alphabet, right? So I know how to read and write as well. And as for the accents, this is what I was saying about accents earlier when I said there are different French accents, there are different Spanish accents. There are also different Korean accents, but the standard Korean, do you get? If a Seoul person says something, a Busan person will understand it. Do you get? Because it's standard Korean. If a Busan person says something, a Seoul person will understand it. Maybe it's just slight, intonation or like some words that are not said the same way. Do you get? That they might not understand. But if they, if you explain it, the person will understand it. So it's the same thing. One PD, one producer that came that was interpreting for during his documentary shooting. No, it was not a producer. I think it was somebody that owns a company during one of the beauty conferences. And then when he said something, I was like, this is not Seoul accent. And I asked him where was he from. He now said he was from Gyeonggi-do. Do you get? So it does not mean that I did not understand what he said. His intonation was just different. Do you get? So it's the same. They can understand each other, except Jeju people. So Jeju is an island, so their own is kind of like, it's just like Ijebu Yoruba and normal Yoruba. So some people might not really understand Ijebu Yoruba. If a conk Ijebu Yoruba person speaks Yoruba, they might not really understand it. But if they speak it slowly or try to explain in general Yoruba, they will understand it. So it's just like that. So yeah, I hope I answered the question. So any other question, please? Okay. If we don't have any other questions, I think we can end here. And I'll send. So this thing, I don't know, it doesn't allow me to record meetings. So I'm streaming it on YouTube. So I'm going to just send the YouTube link to the group so that the people that miss the meeting can join. And tomorrow I will send all of us an email. If you have not sent me your email, please do so. I'll send all of us an email with created Spanish. I think somebody wanted to switch from Spanish because how I saved our numbers is if Chinecherem, for example, Chinecherem French, right? So Boluwatife, I had saved her with Boluwatife Spanish, and she said she's switching to French. So if you can just send me your email and say, please remember that I'm switching to French or something like that. So I'm just going to send everybody materials for the different language they are learning. So please, if you want to switch, now is the best time to do it. But you can also try to get a feel of the language that you decided to learn, and if it's not working out for you, you can check the other one. But if you go front and back, forward and backward like that too much, you might just confuse yourself and you will not know which one to learn. So please, you have to have a reason and that you want to learn and stick to it, so that even if this one is looking easier, you know that it is by studying. So when people say, oh, this thing is hard, So I teach people, like I introduce Korean alphabet to them and they say it's hard. But after we explain it and I tell them to practice it over and over again, write it over and over again. And after some time they would have gotten it. So the next topic they will not think is hard. But the other one was hard, but you learnt it. So it is hard at first, but it's like you're cracking, you're chipping at something. If you keep chipping at it, eventually you'll be able to break it. So that's it. You give yourself grace, but also task yourself to understand this thing. So anything we learn for ourselves is usually sticks with us more. So if we take this as something that we are learning for ourselves, we are teaching ourselves for whatever reason, right? It will make it easier for us to learn. So please stick with whatever language you have chosen to learn, for whatever reason you have chosen to learn it. And let this be your drive for learning the language. So that on some days that you might feel you are too tired or whatever, you can rest when you're tired. You can take 2 days break, 3 days, 1 week break, 2 weeks break. Some people will be having an exam, they will not be able to study. Please, you don't leave your exam to say, because Nneka said you have to be consistent, you will not leave your exam and come and be learning French or Spanish. No. So if you have something, maybe you are writing an exam for a promotion at work or whatever, you will leave the Spanish or the French. And you tell your accountability partner, please, I'm not going to be available for this period, you get. And then you do your thing. Whenever it is you are done, you can come back. I tweeted yesterday that language learning is a series of giving up and coming back, giving up and coming back until it becomes a habit. But I'm not saying we should give up, or you get. But if you try and it doesn't stick, it doesn't work, you will leave it. Let it not give you headache too much. You leave it, and then after some time you come back to it. And if you're busy, you will leave it. You can do your thing. After some time you come back also. Don't be ashamed to say, oh, I abandoned it for longer. It's not as if anybody is beating you. Even if you abandon it for long, you still come back until you become a French learner, you get, or a Spanish learner. So I was reading a James Clear. Sorry for aspire to perspire, but I was reading James Clear and he was trying to say something about if you identify as something, eventually you will try to work towards becoming that thing. So if you identify as a French learner or a Spanish learner, you tend to do things to remind yourself that is what you are, like to have evidence of this is what I am. So if you are learning French every day, eventually you start seeing yourself as a French learner. So nobody will even remind you tomorrow to learn French. Or if you're studying Spanish every day, the same thing. Tomorrow nobody will remind you. You already know that, oh, I'm a French learner or I'm a Spanish learner, and you continue doing that. So yeah, I hope I have done a good job and we have learned something and we have seen that this is a valuable group to be in. So thank you guys so much for being here. In the absence of further questions, can I end the meeting now? Yeah. Alright, thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
The next correspondence will be via email, right?
Yes. Even when I send us email, I will tell us in the group that I've emailed us also. Check your email. So anything you want to say, please say it in the group. It's a very interactive group. So
the group is only restricted to the admin alone.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to unrestrict it. Also, I'm going to separate the group after this thing. I'm going to put us in after some time. Yes, after some time, right? After we have learned for some time, I'm going to put us in French and Spanish group, separately like that, because some people are learning Spanish, while some people are learning French. So yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Nneka. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Looking forward to the class.
All right, no problem. Thank you for joining. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Ciao.
Thank you. You too.
Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. You too. Okay, bye-bye.